Sure. Sounds like he
Yeah.
tried to kill you in the conservatory. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, as you know, I'm on my walkabout,
Yeah.
my spiritual journey, forced upon me by capitalism, wherein I am traveling for a month or two before I head to Tokyo to talk about spaceships.
Dude, that's the life right there.
Yeah, you know, I like to walk the earth and then only occasionally go to Tokyo to talk about spaceships, and that's sort of the way I've built my life.
I
You know?
admire it. You know, I envy it, honestly.
So Jeff, as I'm doing my walkabout here through this great country of ours, there's something that I've noticed, and that is walking seems to be fatal.
Walking
Feels real fatal. You ever just gone out into your town and tried to walk around? If you had to walk from your neighborhood now to anything, a shopping center, a place you need to go, how would that go for you?
I mean, there's a number of large streets I'd have to cross that are perilous, but I feel like I could walk to a place. I feel like I could get there by walking.
Now, when you say perilous, does that feel like the sort of thing that you should say when you're talking about walking like a mile and a half?
Well, you know, people in their cars. Here's the thing I do more than walking, frankly, and that's going out for a little exercise run. And I have many times done the "Hey man" to a driver that did not see me and cared not to look as they pulled out from a place, as they turned, they're not looking for pedestrians. To them, this is a car world, and pedestrian is misplaced in a car world. And
It's car world, baby.
Car world cares not for your pedestrian desires, you know?
Car world does not give a shit, dude. And that's one of the things that I've really noticed, because I think I live in LA. LA is obviously car world's prime. It's obviously like
That's right.
it's obviously like where the emperor of car world lives.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I actually, walking around in LA, at least in the area that I live in, feel pretty okay. Like
Yeah.
I live in a pretty walkable area in LA though. But I'll tell you this, if I move like a few blocks too far in my neighborhood, I get to what is actually called the most dangerous intersection in all of Los Angeles. Thank you very much. No applause. Pretty cool.
We did top of the charts.
We
right
did
there.
it. We did it, everybody. The most dangerous of all the dangerous places. And yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad.
What's the most dangerous intersection?
Oh, like I'm going to give up my OPSEC like that. Nice try, Jeffrey.
It's like
Nice try,
just
Jeffrey.
generally, what address would be a few blocks from the most dangerous intersection?
Here's what, generally, like, what would be the social security number of somebody who has to cross the most dangerous intersection? No, walking in LA is a little dangerous, but then I got here to the suburbs of Orlando, Florida, and here's what I'm going to tell you, Jeff. I feel more endangered walking here than I did in Los Angeles. My mother lives in a very beautiful neighborhood, but there aren't sidewalks. Like, there aren't sidewalks.
I feel like that's a subtle hint.
Yeah. And it's big, beautiful yards, and everybody, houses, kids playing in the streets because there are no sidewalks. And, it's a very lovely place. And, I do wonder, because this is a town in the South, I do wonder if there's there was a bit of when the suburbs were first built out, there was a lot of don't put sidewalks in, because that way people who aren't supposed to be there won't be there. Right. You drive home, and anybody who's walking at night in your neighborhood, particularly if they are a different color than you, that's how you know. You know what I mean? But
sidewalks are for everybody. Whereas if it's just my property, then I think, shoot you in the face, right?
Shoot you in the face, sure.
Yeah.
But then above and beyond that, like, I go up to the intersections here, and just like you're saying, it's car world now. Areas even where
in
I used
Orlando, it's actual car world. It's like Lightning McQueen is there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the most dangerous part of any Disney park. There are no walk signals in car world.
That's right.
Because they've never seen a person.
They don't know we're grotesque to them.
That's right. In car world, an insane plane flew into the towers on its own.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That got dark.
Yeah. Listen, we've been through all this car stuff before. We don't need to talk about it.
Stay on the tram. Stay on the tram in Car World.
That's right. Listen, I go up and I'm like, I'm going to go get a coffee. So I look up, where am I going to walk near my mom's place to get a coffee? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
The answer is nowhere.
I mean, it's a simple answer, I guess.
According to maps, the closest place where I can get a cup of coffee is a Starbucks that's in a Target that's 2 miles away from my mother's house. Okay. The second closest place where I can get coffee is 8 miles away.
I do love the stores that are nested inside other stores, like Russian dolls, you know?
It's beautiful. There was did you ever watch the Clerks animated series? The Clerks animated series, if you get a chance, watch it. It kind of like predated a lot of modern cartoon humor and like kind of created a bunch of it. A bunch of people that wound up working on Clerks wound up going off and creating a bunch of other like really amazing shows. But one of their things was Alec Baldwin played like an evil land developer. He was the bad guy in the Clerks cartoon. And he was talking about how he wanted to tear down the Quick Stop and build a mall. And in the mall, there was going to be a bookstore with a tiny Starbucks. And then there was going to be a Starbucks with a tiny bookstore. And then there was going to be another bookstore with a tiny Starbucks. And inside that Starbucks, an even tinier bookstore. Like, it's so good. I love the nested stores, but I don't love the nested stores when I just want to get a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Right. And yeah. I also don't like getting on the interstate to get a cup of coffee in a place that isn't a Target. But I think to myself, okay, I need to take a walk. I want to walk. I'm going to walk to this Target. I know where it is. Buddy, I feel like I was going to die 100,000 times.
Just meh.
Yeah. Not enough sidewalks, not enough places to cross, huge, massive roads. We're talking about 6-8 lane roads in the middle. Like, they're not interstates. They're just where people drive now.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild. And so I looked into this, and Scientific American literally last week wrote a huge write-up on this called "Walking Shouldn't Be So Dangerous in the United States."
Yeah. I mean, I can get behind that. There's a lot of things that shouldn't be dangerous.
Sure. Look, and there are people that will tell you that right now in American history, we've got bigger things to take on. But here's what I'll tell you. 20 people every day in the U.S. die after being hit by a car. Every day, 20 people die after being hit by a car. Isn't that wild?
That's pretty terrible. Yeah. I mean, and does Scientific American get into the statistics of, is it like jaywalking? Are we talking about, is it unsafe behavior, or is it just, it's Car World, baby? Get out the way.
It's Car World, baby. And here's what I'm going to tell you about jaywalking. And you and I have gotten into this before. Jaywalking is a term that was created by car manufacturers.
Yeah,
because in the beginning, cars did not have the right of way, and they paid in the early 20th century. They paid millions. They created massive campaigns across newspapers in the United States to come up with the term jaywalking and to say that jaywalking was rude and bad and terrible and dangerous. When in reality, what was happening was most people were like, well, I'd get a car, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because it doesn't get you anywhere much faster because you're sharing the road with bikes and people and horses and trams and like,
yeah.
Which doesn't sound like a great way for the roads to be either, but
Right. Hey, can I tangent real quick? I forgot to tell you this. Last week, we took the kids for spring break. We took the kids to Palm Springs, and we were looking for something to do. Had a few hours between when we had to check out of our hotel and when we could get on the plane, check into the plane. So we decided to go to the Aeronautical Museum.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's amazing. It's like 4 hangars of World War II era planes and stuff. One of the things they have there is a complete hard copy library of every Life magazine from the 30s all the way up to 1972 when they stopped doing weekly Life magazines. I could have spent hours in there. My children didn't allow me to, but I could have spent hours in there. And one of the things, I just randomly pulled a few issues, and it's fascinating to look at the articles, but even more fascinating to look at the advertising. And one of the ads that I saw directly relates to what you're talking about. And one of our recent episodes, I saw an ad for Ethel.
Yes.
Stop that knocking sound in your car with our new lead-based Ethel. Put it in your car. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what we were just talking about on We Have Concerns. The ad campaign to convince people to poison themselves.
Did you get a picture of it?
I did get a picture of it. I can send it to you.
You got to throw that on the Discord, baby.
I
People
will.
are going to want to see
idea.
that. By the way,
I will do that.
If you want to be on that Discord, patreon.com/We Have Concerns. So 22 people a day are dying. And you're asking, is this just car world? And the answer is, yeah, it's kind of just car world. And the problem is we have created more than any other country an intense car culture.
Yeah.
More than any other country. Over the last 10 years, pedestrian death rates by country have gone down basically everywhere except the United States.
Really? I would not have guessed that. I would think that, you see shots of, these very crowded cities in India and China where, people are sort of weaving in and out of traffic and pedestrians are, dancing between moving cars. It feels like we wouldn't be the danger central. But also it feels like those places, the cars aren't going quite as fast and quite as distracted.
Well, I'll also say this. This was my data is based on a study that's called Pedestrian and Overall Road Traffic Crash Deaths in the United States and 27 other what's considered high-income countries. So it's possible China and India were not on there, but I can tell you that countries that were on there were like South Korea, Poland, Lithuania, Ireland, the Netherlands, Norway. I'm looking at all these things going down. Like South Korea in 2013, 4 people per 100,000 died in car accidents. Pedestrians died in car-related accidents. 4 per 100,000 people. In 2022, they got that down to 2 people. So they halved it. Same for Poland, same for Lithuania, same for most of the countries on this list. Norway had 1/2 of a person per 100,000 and got it down to.
That's a grisly accident.
Yeah.
1/2 of a person get obliterated by a car.
Oof. And the other half is, you know what it is? It's like a cartoon where it took off the guy's head and then his arms were just
searching
tapping around on his shoulders and looking for it.
Yeah.
No, but Norway, even Norway got theirs down from half a death to a quarter death, which means they went down 50%. And everything that they did are things that the U.S., for whatever reason, cultural reasons, we are resistant to. We're resistant to.
I think this just goes another thing that goes in the bucket of why are we so dumb? Why can't we?
Yeah.
Why, we have our priorities in the wrong place in this country.
Well, but a lot of these other countries. So here's what I'm going to talk about when it comes to these cultural things. There are reasonable objections to some of these measures because we have built such a car culture.
And I like to go fast.
And listen, got to go fast.
Yeah. Reasonable objection. Look how fast I can go.
Reasonable objection. Beep, beep.
I don't like red lights. Ignore those. Keep going.
Mm-hmm. Keep going. Some of these things that people want to do, I mean, they do include things like extra taxes or tolls on cars, right?
Yeah.
But things like that in the United States feel like punishments to car drivers because we don't have a public transit infrastructure like a lot of these other countries. You look at South Korea, you look at the Netherlands, you look at like all of these places, they do have a lot more public transit and a lot more reliable public transit. So putting extra taxes on driving
just moves you into a different modality. Yeah. You have recourse. You have an alternative. Whereas here, it's like, oh, that just makes it more expensive for me to commute.
That's right. But some of these other things aren't punishments, quote unquote punishments to car drivers. We just don't want to pay for them. I mean, there are really simple things, right? Like you look at some of these things that people did to make roads safer, and it's just stuff like better lighting, bigger sidewalks.
Yeah.
More pronounced crosswalks, right? Like crosswalks that are more visually, like if you go to Europe or Asia, a lot of the crosswalks aren't just white on black, the same as the rest of the markings on the road are. They're green, right?
Yeah.
Or they're
really wide,
blue.
as you said. Yeah. Big wide pathways. Yeah.
These are things that we just don't want to do. Now, the U.S. Department of Transportation has tried to do these things. They call it the safe system approach. This is everybody who's like everybody working together, coming together from like automakers, government agencies, public officials, drivers, all of these things to like reduce these car related fatalities. But obviously automakers don't want any of this stuff. And they don't want to foot the bill for any of it.
Right. And they don't want to dissuade anybody from going vroom, vroom, vroom in their new hot rod.
That's right. That's right. And so a lot of this stuff, and the government's like, well, we got other things, but like let the states do it if they want to do it. And the states are like, well, we got other things. What are we going to do? Like, we don't have time for this.
Is there any correlation in this article between size of car? Right. I feel like that's a factor too.
Buddy.
Yeah. I feel like
let me put a big old SUV size pin in that, because that's a whole section. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And it's a bad one. But here's the thing. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about here is stuff that like we should be able to do and we should want to do. Things like wider sidewalks, things like those sidewalks that go, the curbs that kind of go into the intersection. You know what I'm talking about? Where curbs kind of turn into a walking point that go into an intersection.
Yeah.
Those are
better
huge.
Curbs. We need better curbs.
I mean, all of these, they're so small, right?
Yeah.
Like they're tiny little things. So in San Francisco, there's this San Francisco MTA official, Ben Jose. He wrote about the merits of daylighting. Daylighting is like such an interesting thing. It's the last parking spot leading to an intersection. You just remove it and convert that parking space into a red painted curb. And it makes it so there's this huge buffer zone where kids see it and they don't accidentally walk into the street. Think about those like last parking spots that are like right there.
Yeah.
Drivers see it and they slow down when they turn into the parking lot. Like it's just the tiniest little thing.
Yeah, but like,
and it also
I need a parking spot though, Anthony. Like, I need like the closest spot so I don't have to walk, and it's super dangerous to walk. I don't know if you know this, but it's super dangerous to walk. So like the distance between where I park and the nested Starbucks inside that Target, you know?
Yeah.
I really got to park closer. So
I feel like most of those fatalities have to be in the parking lot of the Target. Like they have to be. Forget but the other thing that daylighting does is you remove the last parking spot on the street, on the side of the street, right? So you paint the curb red for like 2 or 3 car lengths going up to an intersection. And what does that do? It stops you from having to walk out into the street to see if a car is coming.
Yeah, that's a big one. Is the blinding, you know, being blind to the flow of traffic. I think that's a huge it seems so easy.
It's the easiest thing in the world. But then people scream because it's like somebody on the other side goes, well, if you remove that from X number of intersections, then you're removing 400 parking spots.
Right.
And parking's already a problem in the city. So we're making it so people can't park.
And like, who can afford all that red paint? You know?
Right? Ugh.
I think like red is like the most expensive color of paint.
That's right. Red is the most expensive color. That's a Wong Kar-wai film, I believe. Now, this made me think of something. It made me think of during the pandemic on the main street by my house. They turned during the pandemic all of that into they turned one lane of traffic into outdoor seating.
Yes, I remember this during the pandemic. It was actually kind of rad.
It was so nice. And everybody agreed it was so nice. And everybody was like, I'm having such a pleasant time. Everybody was like, this is great. I'm meeting my friends outside. I'm seeing my neighbors as they walk by. This feels more like a community. And then when we could have renewed that or made it permanent, everybody went, no, I need the parking back.
Yeah. No, I don't want to see my community or my friends anymore. The pandemic's over. I don't have to sit outside.
We kept it going for a year after the pandemic, and I was like, this might be permanent. This is going to be amazing. And then we were like, no. We lost something like 40 parking spots. I was like, 40 parking spots is nothing compared to like the feeling of community that we got from that. But no, like all of these things are we just go, well, what happens to the cars? What happens when I need to park and it's a problem? What happens when I need to go to work and it's a problem?
Yeah. Well, I think the refrain here in America is, safety last, profits first,
Yes,
It
exactly.
really does feel like we will sacrifice anything to the Lord of income.
And especially when it comes to cars, the car is here's the thing that's wild. The car really is such a symbol of America.
Yeah.
It is such a symbol of American freedom.
Yeah.
When you look at like the entire mid-century, you look at everything
Yeah.
in the middle of the 20th century leading up to today, it's about me and my car, love
Yeah.
songs to cars, love
Yeah.
songs to the interstate,
Right.
poetic, even stuff like Jack Kerouac, all these things that are like heavily about America. It's like I can get into my car and I can drive and no one can stop me and I can be wherever I want and I can do whatever I want. And it's such a American thing.
That Route 66, right? That fantasy of wide open highway and a full tank of gas. It is very American. Yeah.
It's extremely
Americana, really.
It really is. And the thing is that, we look at this American car as the symbol for freedom. And when you ask people about it, they're like, oh, I could never get rid of my car. But at the same time, according to this article, we're talking about a typical car payment in the US going up to $748 a month.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
$48 a month because cars are increasingly expensive, right?
Yeah. That's a lot of money to slam into a pedestrian, but it's worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth every penny to watch their head pop off and watch their little arms look for their head on the street. Then you've got insurance, gas, repairs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, for people who can't afford a new car, we're talking about older cars that have like way fewer safety features on them. We're talking about collision sensors weren't a thing until the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And even then they were an option, right? Rear view cameras, radar, all of these things that new cars have, parking assistance, traffic assistance. Most cars don't have them. I drive a 2006. I'm going to drive it into the ground. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm,
well, you're driving into you'll drive before the ground.
Yeah. I'm going to try to knock it into some people that I then knock into a ditch that I then spin out and spin my tires and bury them with dirt.
That's efficiency.
That's efficiency, and that's America. So not only are cars less safe and more expensive, so where's the freedom there, right?
Yeah.
Like fewer and fewer people can afford cars, and they can't afford cars that really keep them safe or other people safe. So where is really the freedom of the American car these days?
Well, like so many things in America, it's this antiquated notion, this fantasy that is no longer really true, but people cling to it and defend this notion that isn't even real anymore, but is nostalgic and sort of, I hate to say it, but that's what the MAG and A stand for, right? Is like this kind of vague fantasy of what we thought maybe used to be, but never really was and can never be again, And I think that's the characteristic of the 21st century in America is just this, throwing everything to the wayside in pursuit of some sort of strange American abstraction that isn't even relevant anymore.
Well, and it's not just connected to the ideal of America. It's also connected a lot to the ideal of the American male.
Yeah.
You are your car.
Yeah.
What kind of car do you drive? Is it cool?
Well,
is it a cool car?
My penis is my car.
Right. My other car is a penis. My other student is on the honor roll.
That's right.
And that student is also my penis. But there is a lot of this. I remember riding my bike here in Florida growing up because things were close to me. And, this was before the closest coffee was 2 miles away inside a Target. I used to be able to like ride up to the coffee shop and ride up to the video game store and like ride my bike up to this stuff. And I wasn't a little kid. I was a teenager who had a car, but I was like, I don't want to drive my car. But when I rode my bike, because there was no bike lane, there were no sidewalks, I'm riding on the road, I'm allowed to ride on the road, people would scream at me. People would throw things at me. People would yell at me to get a car.
Yeah.
Like, get a car, you bum. And I was like, dude, I have one. I don't want to drive. What is this? Why is it weird that I don't want to drive? And so there is that thing about it too, where it's like people's car, like people genuinely love their cars.
That's true. Well, you spend so much time in it, and it does feel, what's that old Understanding Comics? There's a section in Understanding Comics, the Scott McCloud brilliant graphic novel, where he talks about how, you get hit, you get rear-ended, and you go, they hit me.
Yes.
Not they hit my car. They hit me. We have so fused ourselves with the car that it is indistinguishable from our identity.
Why won't this guy let me into the lane? And it's like, that dude probably doesn't even see that you're trying to get into the lane. Like he doesn't know. It's not like, but we ascribe all of these motivations to people and to cars as they are like part of us.
It's an extension of our physical body. Yeah,
exactly.
It's not they hit my car, they hit me.
Right. And so we've turned the car into such an identity piece, such a piece of ourselves. I mean, that thing that you were talking about, like, I care about my car so much because I spend so much time in my car. That's cyclical, right?
Yeah, right.
That's cyclical.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. And so if you're from a place where it's like you could take a car, like I know a lot of people like New York or San Francisco that have cars that hate that they have cars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're just like, parking is a pain in the ass. I never take my car. It's cool for like the twice a month that I need to drive out to like the big Costco and not like carry my groceries home on public transit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like we didn't like having a car in San Francisco when we were there.
But it's also possible the infrastructure is there for you not to. And I don't think that's the case in most U.S. cities, as you've already talked about, right? Europe and other high income countries put a lot of resources into infrastructure and make it possible for you to get around without having to clog up the streets. And there's just not a priority here at all.
Exactly. And there is, and there's also this idea that because cars are such a huge part of the culture, and especially like the truck driving man.
Yeah.
The truck driving man is a big deal in American culture, like to the point where it's like, I know, like, why are people driving Cybertrucks? They're not trucks. They don't make any sense. It's just because of the truck driving man and the tech man come together into this one thing that you can buy. And so it's very cool to a specific kind of person that wants to be the big man and the tech man, right?
We call that a douchebag.
We do call that a douchebag. We absolutely do. But there's this idea because of the truck driving man that people in rural areas don't drive cars or don't walk. Like they don't walk. And so they don't need things like sidewalks, like well lit streets.
I got headlights for that.
Yeah, they don't need crosswalks because they're not walking. But that's not true. 5% of rural residents say that they walk as a form of transportation, and 56% said they did it for leisure. When you live in the middle of nowhere, what is there to do? You get up and you take a walk. That's what you do. Like, it's a nice day. Let's go for a walk.
You're hoping to find your way out of there. Like,
that's
you're
right.
in the middle of nowhere.
And so what we're really doing, as we normally do, is we're just ignoring people who are poor and non-white and what their real lives are, and we're just ascribing lives onto them. We're like, oh, well, they don't want to walk. 56% of them just said they want to walk every day.
Yeah. Why would they want to walk when we can sell them a car? Well, they can't afford a car. Well, guess what? We can put them in debt. We can make them feel like they need a car and put them in debt, and now we've got them in sort of indentured servitude.
Like a rock. Long as I can be like a rock. In debt for 20 years, like a rock.
Yeah, me and my
See
Chevy.
Children 10 feet in front of my bumper, like a rock.
Mowing down my neighbor.
Like a rock. Can only fit 2 people in the cab, so we actually need 2 cars for my family. Like
oh my God.
Rock.
That was another ad that I saw in the Life magazine. I know I keep bringing this up, but it was a pretty impactful thing. There was a Life magazine from the 60s that said, hey, the new trend is why have 1 Chevy when you could have 2? All of the neighbors are getting a second car. You can have a second car. I was like, wow, Here it is, right here. Here it is.
Listen, your little lady, when she's at home, and you're at work because you're man and you go work.
She's got the roast in the oven.
Right. But does she? Because she has to go to the store.
No, the roast is not going to be ready when I walk in the door.
Yeah, and listen, she can't walk to the store because we didn't put sidewalks in because we didn't want black people walking around here.
That's right.
How's she going to get to the store? Well, should we put sidewalks in? No!
What? Are you crazy? Buy a second car, you idiot.
You fool.
Work
you
longer.
Buffoon.
Work longer. Make more money. Give it to us so that she doesn't have to walk. You Philistine.
It's been long enough since Mad Men that there are a bunch of people that haven't watched Mad Men, and I just have to say, watch Mad Men. If you want to watch the story of how that whole thing was sold to us.
Yeah.
And how it was sold to us by sad, empty people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so this is the thing. We're talking about the second car, but we're talking about the truck, right? The big truck in the rural areas. And you wanted to know about what does the size of trucks do, or the size of cars do?
Yeah,
in America.
I feel like one of the features of America, when you relate it to these other countries we've been talking about, is that people tend to have larger cars, the SUV of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to be a contributing factor, right? Because you get hit by a Fiat, maybe you walk away from that. Maybe it's just a gentle nudge to the side of the road. You get hit by the Chevy Cavalier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're searching for your head with your little hands,
Yeah, exactly. So here's the deal. What we're talking about is light trucks. America loves what is considered a light truck.
The Tacoma?
Yeah, anything that's an SUV, anything that's a pickup that you see somebody driving around that doesn't require a commercial driver's license is a light truck. Now, the light truck was invented in the 1940s. Okay. We're talking about like Chevy and GMC introduced like the first light trucks in like 1941 or depending on who you ask, 1930 to 1940. The light truck required a truck driving license until 1992.
Really? 92?
1992.
I would never have guessed it lasted that long. Wow.
You think about, because here's what happened. The minivan became popular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? People wanted to bring people wanted to bring their family around in something, and American car manufacturers said, here's the minivan. It's a van. We've put in enough. It's smaller. We've put in enough seats for your family. It's got it's got the sliding cargo door. This is great. It's gonna work for everybody. And everybody said, yeah, that works, but I don't feel cool.
Yeah, you feel like a real doof, and you got to pull that door so hard to get it to close.
Yeah, it's honestly it's just not worth it. I would just ride around with the door open. Let the children sway outside. Like gunners in a helicopter.
That's right. Yeah, the Flight of the Bumblebee is on, or Ride of the Valkyries, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I was just having this conversation with a friend. We were reminiscing about being kids, and my parents had a like a VW bus kind of dealie, like that. That was their version of the minivan, and this was pre seatbelt laws, and
Mm-hmm.
we had the big bucket seats in the back of that thing, and I remember. We would carpool to school. My parents organized a carpool with other parents. And so like they'd rotate which parent had to pick up. And we would sit in the back of that VW bus and go around corners and just slide across the seats. We thought it was so fun.
My mom tells a story all the time about my grandfather used to have a car that had automatic windows, and the window in the back windshield could be put down.
God.
And they would just be hanging out the back windshield and like throwing stuff and like hanging their hands out and like sitting on the back of the car. Yeah. Fucking wild. So here's the deal. 1992 is when the commercial driver's license really kind of came into effect. And these car manufacturers said, hey, light trucks, do we really need those to be commercial? Because they're not. Like, most people who drive them aren't commercial. But here's the problem with the light truck, Jeff. cars, the average automobile that people are supposed to drive, pre pickup truck, all that stuff, cars are built so their bumpers are at the same height, their crumple zones are at the same height. They're built assuming all other cars are around the same height, and so they're built with that amount of visibility in mind. Honestly, when it's car versus car on the road, accidents, a lot of people walk away, and they walk away pretty safely. The problem is when you have a light truck and a regular car. Think about the height difference of a bumper of a light truck and a regular car. That car goes under the bumper of the light truck.
Yeah.
That's extremely unsafe. It causes way more dangerous collisions. The other thing is, think about side impacts from a light truck to a regular car. That's huge. Those actually cause a huge number of deaths.
Yeah, and that's why you get a whole segment of the population going, well, I got to get an SUV because I feel safer.
That's right.
I don't feel safe in a small car.
It's an arms race, right?
Exactly, 100%. An arms race to keep your arms.
That's right.
When you get in a car accident. And
you can't keep your head.
No.
Your head pops off, but then you keep your arms, and you need your arms to walk around on the sidewalk.
Check where your head is.
Feel on the ground for your head.
That's what they call it, an arms race.
That's why they call it that.
To see whose arms can find their head first.
And so when you look at automobile impacts and safety in countries that don't have light trucks or have fewer light trucks, boy, are they ever safer. Boy, are they ever safer. According to a study that I found from the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is unfortunately kind of old.
And probably doesn't exist anymore in the last 6 months.
Even by 1996, this is after you look at 1992, the commercial driver's license and light trucks being exempt from that. And the amount of light trucks goes up so high to the point where from 1980 to 1996, LTV vehicle registrations went from 20 to 34%, which meant by 1996, 1/3 of all people were driving a light truck.
So this is a direct result of them changing the rules and saying you don't need to have a special license to drive it. It basically created an entire category of auto sales that just took off. And like we were talking about, it became this another self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, well, I don't want to be the one person not in the light truck because I don't want to be the person who goes underneath the truck in the accident. I got to be safer. I got to have one. So everybody's got to have one. So here we go. We're spiraling upward.
That's right.
In size.
And as you're watching this go up, like the number of light truck collisions in the United States, fatal light truck crashes in the United States in 1995 was 17,587. Then you get to 2005 and it's all the way up to 23,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge. It's a huge number of these things. But now here's the problem, Jeff. They're the top selling cars in the United States.
Yeah. And there's no going back from that.
There's no going back. People don't want to give them up. And then you're going to tell automakers you have to stop selling these. And people are going to go, what are you talking about? That's half our profits. And then you tell people, okay, but going forward, you're going to need a license for them. And then people go, well, I already have one. And it seems unfair that I would have to get a commercial driver's license now. Okay. If you buy a new one manufactured after this date, you have to have a commercial driver's license. Well, that's unfair. So many people are already driving them.
Yeah. Well, and again, it gets in the way of profits, right? There's so much incentive for these car manufacturers to keep selling you bigger and bigger cars because we get to ramp up that monthly payment we talked about. $700+ is not for the Fiat. It's not for the Mini. That's giving you a big old honking SUV.
That's right. Because that's the only car that people feel safe in, feel cool in, feel like they could live their day-to-day life in.
Yeah.
Because we've turned it into that. And so the real answer really does seem to be, because you can't get the automakers to change anything, right? Not without a huge fight. And it seems like the best thing to do would be to start making these small changes in infrastructure and public transit and city design, urban design, that will just like make people feel better about walking and taking public transit and not using a car. Like, I understand why people don't want to walk in the United States. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm so used to living in cities where it's like, no, I can walk. I can walk if I really need to. Whereas like now I'm here in the suburbs and like, I'll tell you what, to get to the closest anything that isn't just a building, that isn't a neighbor's house, is going to be an hour walk for me. And that's not tenable for people. Who's got an hour to walk to get groceries and walk back?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really all the incentives are on the other side, right? The financial incentives for the people. There's no money in walking, right? Mm-hmm. You're not selling them gasoline. You're not selling them electricity. You're not selling them vehicles. There's all kinds of money to be made in not walking. There's also the incentive from the consumer's point of view of convenience, speed, comfort, all that stuff where it's like, hey, well, is it too cold or too hot today? I don't feel like walking. It is such an uphill battle, even if you're not walking uphill, to get people to embrace that. And some of that, I think, has been combated, at least in recent times, with sort of a general sort of cultural sense of obligation of like living green or attempting to, incentivize people on a sort of, I don't want to say moral level, but a peer pressure kind of situation where, hey, it's better for the world. It's better for you. That's been the only avenue of kind of incentive. And I don't know if it's working, but I think,
I don't think it is anymore, because you're now going up against, I think it worked a little bit, but now people understand that anything they do compared to one Amazon truck driving through their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. Anything you do. And I can bring my own bag to the grocery store for the rest of my life, but it's not going to change one day of wasteful dumping by a Kroger.
Yeah.
And so people will then begin to go like, come on, I'm bringing my own straw. I'm using a paper straw. This is ridiculous.
I'm sacrificing and, for what? Yeah, I get it. And it's hard to change that mentality. It's hard to, and especially what we're talking about, where I don't think people are unaware that walking is dangerous. We feel that, right? It's palpable. Mm-hmm. And that's another contributing factor is, hey, it's a car world, baby. I don't want to get smacked by a car. I'm not going to walk. What am I, crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, even I feel it anecdotally in the sense that I live close enough to my kids' school that they could walk or ride their bike every day to school, when it's the weather permitting. But there's one street that's real busy that they got to cross. Just one, but it is real busy and people fly down it. Is there a crosswalk? Yeah. Do I trust my children in that crosswalk it's not even trusting my children. Do I trust the other drivers to respect the crosswalk? Hell no. Hell no, I don't. And it sucks. So what do? I put my kids in the car every morning and I drive them this ridiculously short way to school to keep them safe. And it sucks because I walked to and from school as a kid, and I think my kids could absolutely handle it if I felt like they could cross that street.
And that's the biggest thing, right? Is as a parent, you can't even have that possibility in your mind, because the moment that possibility is in your mind, you go, well, it's close. I'll just drive them.
Right. Yes.
Why wouldn't you?
It defeats all of it. So I would love there to be these small things, like you're talking about the daylight situation. I just feel like there's no will there. There's no desire. And again, it's the kind of thing where like, we'll let the people die. We'll let the pedestrians die. And we don't feel like doing this.
It seems like not a lot of people. It seems like not a lot of people. 20 people a day out of all the people?
A lot of people. Yeah, we got so many people to spare right now.
There's so many people. Here's what I'll say. If this is something that you feel at all passionately about the way I do, I mean, listen, we're a long way from getting individual cities to admit that they need to install trains or whatever. But small things like new lighting on a street, more protection for bike lanes, all that sort of stuff is really done at like a very local level. And something that I've noticed is, particularly if you live in a smaller city or a smaller town, it's very easy to make changes at that level if you are passionate about it. It takes a very small number of voters to just go, yeah, let's do this, to get it done. It's when you get to cities the size of LA where everybody's like, well, fuck you anyway, cars rule. That becomes a little hard for somebody like me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Even though LA does have a larger and larger movement, I think, every year for things like this.
Yeah, except that we're losing like 20 of those people every day.
Yeah. Hey, people who really love walking, just be so careful, because they're like, we're not the majority. Like, every time we lose 20 of us, that gets us so much farther away from a bike lane. You know what I mean?
It is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then you're hit by a car. That's what that is.
That's right. It's you 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You lean over to look into the intersection. Your head gets taken off, and then your arms are looking around for your head.
Yeah. That's the story of our lives.
It's the story of our lives. Let us know how you feel about this, but don't necessarily do it on social media, even though we are there.
No, you don't want to. We are on Blue Sky, but the best
We're on Blue Sky. We're on TikTok now.
Wow. Yes, we are. Oh my goodness. Look at us. Look at us.
We do have a YouTube, but just chill the fuck out about it.
No, you should. Where you should go and hang out is the Discord. That's the coolest place with the coolest cools and all the great news stories that we pluck from to do the show and all kinds of other discussions. And all we ask for you to participate in that very rad, very exclusive Discord is $1 single per month. That just is so ridiculously small. Yeah.
That's nothing, dude. That's 5 cents for every person who dies daily by being hit by a car.
Think of it that way, and then you'll always want to.
You'll also get some other perks from us, including bonus episodes, early episodes, videos, Q&A sessions, all kinds of stuff. All you got to do to join that and get all those things is patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. It's the only way we support the show, and so we hope that you will support the show that way as well.
You don't even have to cross the street to get there.
Would you cross the street
to get there?
For me?
Yeah. For you.
Would you cross it for me? No.